Oh my God. Oh my
Miami
God.
County 911.
Oh my, somebody broke into my home. Somebody broke into my home
Okay.
and shot my wife.
Are they still in there?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, what's the address?
Please hurry. Please hurry.
Okay. What are you seeing?
My wife she's got 2 shots to her head. There's blood everywhere. Oh my God.
February 9th, 3:14 in the morning. The phone rings at the Miami County 911 dispatch center. The dispatcher answers. On the other end of the line, a man's voice, panicked, breathless. The caller identifies himself as Caleb Flynn. He lives in Tip City, Ohio, a small town about 20 minutes north of Dayton. He says someone has broken into his home. He says his wife has been shot. The dispatcher asks if the intruder is still inside. Caleb says he does not know. He does not know. His words tumble over each other. Please hurry. Please hurry. The dispatcher asks what he is seeing. Caleb's voice cracks. He says his wife has 2 shots to her head. There is blood everywhere. He says his daughters are in the house. They are in their beds. They are still asleep. The dispatcher tries to keep him calm. She asks him to check on the children. She asks him to put a cloth on the wound, but not to apply pressure. Caleb says the police are here. The police are here. The call ends. Officers arrive at the Flynn home to find a scene of chaos. A woman dead in her bedroom, a husband frantic outside, 2 young girls in the back of the house, untouched, unaware. The officers begin their work. They take photographs. They collect statements. They secure the scene. At this moment, everyone believes the same thing. A burglar broke in. Something went wrong. A wife and mother is dead. The town of Tip City will wake up to news that will shake them to their core. But the officers walking through that house are already noticing things. Small details. Things that do not fit. The beginning of a story no one saw coming. Tip City, Ohio sits in Miami County, about 70 miles north of Cincinnati. It is the kind of place people move to get away from the things that happen in bigger cities. The population hovers around 2,000. The streets are quiet at night. Neighbors know each other by name. Children play in front yards without parents watching every second. The local schools are small. The churches are full on Sundays. It is the kind of town where people still wave at each other from their front porches, where a stranger stands out, where violent crime is something that happens somewhere else, to someone else on the news. Ashley Flynn belonged in this town. She was 37 years old. She taught 7th grade. She coached the school volleyball team. She had 2 young daughters who attended the local schools. Her former players described her as more than a coach. She was family. One 7th grader said Ashley's smile could warm an entire room. Another said she helped her become a better person, not just a better player. She taught them lessons they would carry for the rest of their lives. There was a lesson she gave using an Oreo cookie. The crunchy outside part was the things they needed to work on. The creamy inside was the things they did well. Focus on the good stuff, she told them. That was Ashley. She gave, and she gave. She poured into everyone around her. She did not ask for much in return. Her pastor would later describe her as one of the kindest souls to ever grace this planet. These were not empty words said at a funeral to make people feel better. These were words people said because they were true. Ashley Flynn was the person everyone wanted to be. Caleb Flynn was 39 years old. He was a pastor and a worship leader at his church. Every Sunday morning, he stood on the stage with a microphone in his hand. He led the congregation in songs of praise. His voice filled the room. He had presence. He had charisma. He had once auditioned for American Idol. He was comfortable being watched, being listened to, being looked up to. The congregation admired him. They saw a man of faith, a devoted husband, a loving father. The Flynn family sat in the same pew every Sunday. Ashley and the 2 girls. They looked like the picture of a perfect church family. Solid, faithful, unbreakable. But there was another woman at the church. Her name was Alia Botner. She was also a worship leader, which means every single Sunday morning, she and Caleb stood on that same stage together. They sang together. They led worship together. They stood side by side in front of the congregation, in front of their friends, in front of Ashley. According to what investigators would later uncover, they had been having an affair for months. Let that sit for a moment. This man, this pastor, this husband and father, was standing in front of his wife every weekend, pretending, leading songs about faithfulness and love and commitment while living a double life. His wife was right there in the building, watching, trusting, believing that the man she married was exactly who he showed the world. The betrayal was not just private, it was public. It happened on the stage, in the sanctuary, in front of everyone who knew them. And for months, no one knew. At some point, Ashley began to feel it, the weight of something wrong in her marriage. She started opening up to close friends about what was happening at home. She told the people she trusted that things were not right between her and Caleb. She was struggling. She was carrying something heavy, and it was getting heavier. The details she shared were private, the kind of things a woman tells only her closest friends when she does not know where else to turn. She did not name names. She did not accuse anyone of anything specific. She simply said she could not do it anymore. Those were her words. I cannot do it anymore. She told a friend to hear her out, to listen, to understand. The people around her knew she was hurting. They knew something was wrong. They tried to be there for her. But not one of them, not a single person who loved Ashley Flynn, could have seen what was about to happen. In the weeks and days leading up to her death, Ashley continued to show up. She went to work. She coached her team. She took care of her daughters. She sat in church. She smiled when she needed to smile. She carried on. That is what strong people do. They carry on. But inside, she was reaching her limit. The very last message she ever sent to a close friend contained 6 words. I cannot anymore. Hear me out. These are not the words of someone having a rough week. These are the words of a woman who has been holding on for a long time and has finally run out of strength. She was asking for help. She was asking to be heard. And the people who loved her heard her. They just did not know how little time she had left. February 8th, the evening before the murder. Inside the Flynn home, the family went through their normal routine. Dinner, baths, bedtime stories. 2 little girls tucked into their rooms. Ashley was home. Caleb was home. On the surface, it was just another night in a quiet Ohio town. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing seemed wrong. But on Caleb's phone, something else was happening. Investigators would later discover that in the hours leading up to Ashley's death, Caleb was in heavy communication with an unidentified woman. Some messages were standard texts. Others were sent through encrypted messaging apps, the kind designed to leave no trace, to disappear, to keep secrets safe. As midnight approached, the messages became more frequent. The conversation intensified. There was a pattern here, a building, a destination. The closer it got to that hour, the faster the messages moved back and forth. Something was being discussed. Something was being planned. The digital trail was being laid, even if the person laying it thought it would never be found. At 12:42 in the morning, a message was sent from Caleb Flynn's phone. 5 words. It's almost done. Less than 2 hours later, Ashley Flynn was dead, shot twice in the head inside her own home, in the bedroom she shared with her husband, while her 2 young daughters slept in their rooms down the hall. The woman who spent her days pouring into classrooms full of kids, the woman who coached volleyball and stayed late and showed up early, the woman who just days before had told her friends she could not do it anymore. Gone, 37 years old, in the house she shared with her family, in the town she loved, on a night that started like any other. When police arrived at the Flynn home in the early morning hours of February 9th, they walked into a scene that would haunt them. Ashley Flynn was dead in her bedroom, 2 gunshot wounds to the head, blood everywhere. Her husband, Caleb, met officers at the door, frantic, pointing, explaining. He told them about the burglar. He told them about the open garage door. He told them he had run inside after hearing something and found his wife like this. The 2 daughters were in the back bedroom. They were still asleep. They had not been hurt. They had not woken up. They had slept through the sound of their mother being killed. At first, everything seemed to fit the story. A burglary gone wrong, a random act of violence, a tragedy that could happen to anyone. But as officers began processing the scene, small details started to emerge. Details that did not fit. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no shattered windows. Nothing was missing from the house. No valuables taken. Nothing disturbed except the room where Ashley died. The evidence did not point to a stranger. It pointed to someone who already had access to the house. Someone who knew the layout. Someone who knew Ashley. Someone who was already on the inside. The Tip City Police Department is small. They handle traffic stops and noise complaints and the occasional domestic dispute. They are not equipped for a murder investigation, especially one that was already raising questions. Chief Gregory Atkins made a decision. He reached out for help. He contacted the Miami County Sheriff's Office. He contacted the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. He contacted the FBI. When federal agents show up in a town of 2,000 people, it is not because they are looking for a random burglar. The break in the case came from a place Caleb Flynn likely thought was safe: his phone. Investigators obtained a warrant and began pulling his digital records. They found the heavy communication with an unidentified woman leading up to that night. The texts, the encrypted messaging apps, the pattern of messages escalating as midnight approached. They found proof of the affair with Aaliyah Botner, the other worship leader at the church. They found a timeline of communication that ran right up to the hours before Ashley was killed. And then they found something else, something Caleb had tried to get rid of: deleted messages, sitting in a digital trash folder on his device. He had deleted them. He thought they were gone. He thought that was the end of it. Digital forensics does not work like that. Every deleted conversation was recovered, every word restored. And those messages did not just confirm the affair. They gave investigators a documented timeline, a clear, irreversible trail of communication that ran right up to the hours before Ashley was killed. Prosecutors looked at those deleted messages and called it what it was: tampering with evidence, an active attempt to destroy a record of what had been discussed and planned. Because when you delete your communications around the same time your wife ends up dead, that raises questions, big ones, the kind that do not go away. And then there was that message, sitting at the center of it all, 12:42 in the morning. It's almost done. Prosecutors would later argue that those 5 words were not casual. They were not a figure of speech. They were a status update. Whoever received that message already knew what was happening. Whatever had been set in motion was almost finished. This was not a crime of sudden emotion. This was discussed. This was planned. This was communicated. 3 days. That is how long it took from the morning Ashley was found to the moment police made their move. 3 days. On February 12th, Caleb Flynn was arrested. He was charged with 1 count of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, 2 counts of tampering with evidence. The worship leader, the pastor, the man with the stage presence and the American Idol audition and the Sunday morning sermons about love and faithfulness, sitting in a jail cell, charged with killing the mother of his children. The news hit Tip City like a physical blow. People who knew Ashley personally were devastated. People who had never met her felt the weight of it. The man they had seen on stage every Sunday, leading worship, lifting his hands in praise, was now accused of the most terrible crime a person can commit. The congregation was shattered. The community was shaken. And 2 little girls, those 2 daughters who had slept through the nightmare, were now facing something even worse. They had lost their mother, and now they were losing their father too. One community member put it in a way that stopped people in their tracks. The daughters did not just lose a mom. Now they have lost a dad. 2 little girls went to sleep one night with both parents in the house. They woke up into something they will be carrying for the rest of their lives. No mother at the breakfast table. No mother at their games. No mother to call when the world gets heavy. And their father, the man who was supposed to be their foundation, behind bars. Accused of ending their mother's life while they slept just rooms away. There is no easy way to say what that means for 2 children. No amount of careful words makes that okay. Those girls will carry this for the rest of their lives. The community did what communities do when something breaks them open. They showed up. A local woman named Sarah Kaler started taking orders for handmade shirts. The shirts said, "Live like Ashley." Within days, over $2,500 had been raised. All of it going directly to those 2 girls. People who had never met Ashley were reaching out, asking what quotes of hers could go on the shirts. Strangers holding up a woman they never knew, the only way they could. A celebration of life was held at Christian Life Center in Dayton. It was a chance for the people who loved her to remember her the right way. Not for how she died, for how she lived. Her former players came, her students, her friends, her family. They shared stories about the Oreo cookie lessons, about the way she made everyone feel seen, about the woman who gave and did not ask for much in return. One community member said something that stayed with a lot of people. It is just sad that Ashley lost her life over something so silly. That word carries a lot, because at the end of the day, what was all of this for? An affair, a secret, a double life. What did any of it accomplish except leaving two little girls without parents? That is the part of this case that does not make sense. No matter how many times you turn it over, those daughters did not ask for any of this. They did not choose any of this. They were children asleep in their beds, while the adults in their lives made choices that would shape their entire future. And now they are left to carry it. Tip City, Ohio, will never feel quite the same. The kind of town where people wave from their front porches, where kids ride bikes in the street, where doors are often left unlocked. That feeling of safety, of small-town peace, it takes a hit when something like this happens. Not because a stranger came in from the outside, but because the danger was already inside, standing on the stage, leading the worship, sleeping in the next room. Ashley Flynn was 37 years old. She was a teacher, a coach, a mother. She spent her life pouring into other people, even when things in her own home were not right. Even when she was carrying something heavy, she kept showing up. She told her friends she could not do it anymore. She was hurting, and the people around her heard those words, but none of them knew how little time was left. If there is anything to take from this story, let it be this. When someone you love says they are at their limit, stop what you are doing. Listen, really listen. Do not assume they will be okay by morning. Sometimes they will not be. Be the person who shows up, the way Ashley showed up for everyone else. Live like Ashley. Love the way she loved. Show up the way she showed up. Pay attention to the people standing right in front of you. Before it is too late, the legal proceedings continue. Caleb Flynn remains in custody, awaiting trial. The investigation remains active. The community remains watching. And two little girls grow up without a mother, without a father, carrying a story they did not ask for and cannot escape. Ashley deserved better. Her daughters deserve better. And that quiet little town with the unlocked doors and the front porch waves will carry this loss for generations.